Welcome to Against All Oddities, the podcast about three brothers coming to terms with the oddly true and the truthfully odd. Today we have a special episode that we are calling History's Mysteries, Volume 1. In today's episode, each brother brings with them a spooky historical mystery to ponder over with the others. Nate brings us a true murder mystery from the 1940s in a segment called Who Put Bella in the Witch Elm? Tim digs deep into the first ghost story, and Chris reflects upon the hidden hand mystery of the theosophists and the Hermetic brotherhood of Luxor. That's right, this is Against All Oddities.
Hey, welcome to Against All Oddities. We talk about weird and strange and paranormal and odd and the unsolved mysteries of the past, because this month we're talking about history's mysteries. I'm youngest brother Tim.
Middle brother Chris.
Nate.
So as a surprise to each of us, we all try to find a mystery just to bring to the
mystery
show.
From history.
A mystery from history. Maybe one that's well known, maybe one that's not known by very many, but just some unsolved thing. So just as a heads up, I did not entirely understand the assignment, but I
qualify it. There was no assignment. You did perfect. Whatever it is.
I brought a question, but I'll go through that. So it's not like I found a mystery and like what's the unsolved mysteries? Like what noise do they make?
I don't know, but it wasn't what.
Every time I try to think of the unsolved mysteries opening, it's X-Files.
I know. Well, it's playing right now. In the future, you'll hear it.
Mary's tried to watch
mysteries.
every single unsolved mysteries ever made.
The new ones are good.
The new ones are great. She's on Amazon Prime. Went back to the season 1, and she's working her way.
Ooh.
By the way, there are literally 600,000 episodes. And what's amazing about Unsolved Mysteries in the 80s, they had a call center in all day, like a 24-hour hotline for unsolved mysteries, solving mysteries.
That's
How
awesome.
awesome is that?
I would, if I worked that call center, I would answer with Scooby-Doo's voice. Ruh-roh, welcome for mysteries. How may we help you?
How come you don't have any references to all of your call center jobs, Tim? I always get fired. It's better than Donald Duck, I guess.
I can't do the Donald
Scooby.
voice.
I would talk to Scooby. I would not talk to Donald Duck.
Well, Scooby, I do have a problem. My great uncle went missing in 1953, and the strange old man just showed up.
We're have to cover murders. It's unsolved. We'll take a look. We'll be right here.
I want the best part that Scooby can handle are the lost love segments, which are ridiculous. Because it's like Craigslist. What's that thing on Craigslist where people
misconnections
on Craigslist, but for a primetime TV show. And it's awesome. It was like the year was 1978. It was a Fleetwood Mac concert.
You were a Great Dane. I was standing next to you. You kept eating a ridiculous amount of food with your stoner friend.
How did you bring a giant sub sandwich into the concert? I don't know.
I feel like we should let the cat out of the bag and say that we really thought we were going to be on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries.
I think it's safe. Yeah, Nate, we got...
Because we told some people, and I feel
so
like
excited. We told some of the Kneecast guys because whatever. And then I think I made a cryptic social media post or whatever. But Unsolved Mysteries reached out
we were almost
to
on
Nate
Unsolved Mysteries
and Mary about the ghost haunting or that has made appearances at Nate and Mary's farm. And so Unsolved Mysteries wanted to do a bit on that, but it hit a roadblock, right? Nate, why don't you talk about that?
I mean, Nate interviewed with producers. Like this was coming. It wasn't just like, oh, we thought we might make a cut. Like I feel like we got pretty far into the.
Right.
So-
we have it. Oh, heads up. Go check out our episode on the mystery of Mary Ford at
One
it's
of our
Halloween-
Christmas specials, right?
Christmas special
A couple years ago.
2021.
Two. Look back.
Time.
The Ghost of Mary Ford. Anyway,
It's
it's,
in
on
the
our
history.
website, dorfyu.com, dorfyu.com. They almost made an Unsolved Mysteries about it.
Well, I think they were gonna do like a spin-off, like home renovations finds a mystery, and then do like lesser segment on it.
Hmm.
But the fact they seemed disappointed we couldn't pull up a picture of Mary.
Mm.
Oh,
So
well,
I think that was about it. And
I
then
could have, I would have faked some evidence just to like, because the story is real.
Yeah, it's all real. I think and Mary wrote to Unsolved Mysteries because she wanted them to solve the mystery for her, but they
Yeah.
didn't really.
They don't
seem
solve mysteries.
To, they didn't
That's what I'm here for.
yeah.
I
That's
gotta
what the
stop. That's
audience
not. That is not a new bar keep. I can't do that as a bit.
does.
Anyway,
I'm really sad about that.
Raggy.
We were disappointed, although it seemed like the producer liked the story, and I thought maybe we'd get like
I gave him
some
a
kind
tour of our house.
TV show. I
They
really
showed up
wanted
to tour the
I just-
house.
I mean, I just wanted to see who would play us in reenactments. That's all I cared about.
Oh
seeing the
God, I hope
reenactors.
they were terrible.
Of course, but that's the best part.
That's the best part. I like the ones like the reenactors that are just terrible people. Like it's like this is what we think that's like the serial flasher, and it's going around some guy flashing everybody at old folks' homes. But that's reenactor, the actor who's that reenactor.
Oh, he gives it 100% though.
Yeah, he does great.
Creeping
And then
corners.
every
Like,
time he says the 7-Eleven, people are pointing at him and calling the police for the rest of his life because it's even in syndication. It's the old man flasher. I knew it.
it would do one of those. What's it called? The gross ups too, like like on Ren and Stimpy and the SpongeBob when they show their face. It's like,
like terrible. I like that the gross ups.
he pervertedly looked pervishly into the pervert's window.
Yeah, it's the ice cream fucker. Or whatever. Go to all the Baskin Robbins and fuck the rum raisin.
Man.
Oh, there he is. And then he's just getting ice cream one day. And the police show up.
Raggy, I'm not so hungry anymore. But I solved a mystery. Holy ice cream, Raggy.
I'm glad we could make this one a funny one. It's been like what the last one was pretty good though. I thought we did.
Oh, we're always a little funny.
the Among Us.
That was good. It was good. We actually that was a good segue because so Among Us, we actually had somebody reach out that wasn't from our usual reach out crew. Wanted to remain quasi anonymous, but he knows us through the Douglas Bachelor's What Magic Is This Discord. And when we had Douglas on, I guess he picked up and he listens. We can call him Mr. Juice.
Mr. What?
Juice.
So that's his screen. That's
It's half
handle.
of his handle that
Yeah.
he goes by. But if you really want to find out or chat with who this person is, you could join the What Magic Is This Discord. Whatever. He listened to the Among Us episode and he had an Among Us experience. It was really cool. So he sent us a voicemail. So
We'll go ahead and play it. All right, I'm hitting play.
A little dive bar. They had pizza, karaoke every day. It was a fun little place, but I'm living pretty close to there, and this is while I'm doing a magical, I guess, practice where every morning I simply just did a grounding meditation, which means I took off my shoes, usually just actually in my boxer shorts in the backyard, just sort of standing with my arms spread, soaking in the sun, kind of grounding yourself to the earth. A lot of people do it in various practices, but anyway, I had finished doing that day, and then later on I had done an offering, just a little ritual that I was doing. I'm not really gonna get into specifics, but anyway, I finish up, and I did what in certain traditions, after you do an offering, after you do a ritual, you'll just sort of celebrate with libations and cakes and whatever. So I don't know, pizza's pretty close to a cake. So I went down to that bar right down the road, and I had my pizza and a beer. And this is later in the day. It's getting dark out at this point. I think it was winter, so it was probably like 5 o'clock. But this guy comes up to me, and he says my name and introduces myself and starts talking. And I think I just know him from somewhere, but I don't recognize him from anywhere. And he says my name, and he says, "Hey, keep up that morning practice, keep up that meditation." He says, "A lot of us see what you're doing, and we're telling you to keep at it. This is a very special neighborhood. This neighborhood has a lot of power, so just keep doing that occult shit and you'll be fine." Sort of blew my mind, because I initially thought that maybe this guy had been watching me like a creep, but I started questioning him, and he started telling me like things that only me or a close friend would know, not this guy I'd never seen before. And instead of, I asked him his name, but then I asked him, "What are you?" And he sort of laughed and said, he actually didn't say anything. He just laughed. And yeah, I kind of actually don't remember what happened after that, but I do remember that I went home. I did freak out. I grabbed my gun and I started sleeping with it pretty close, because I assumed this was still some creep kind of. I just didn't know how he knew about my magical practice and all this like personal information. But I hadn't seen him for a while, and then a little while later I went back to that bar, and I saw him again, but I didn't talk to him. He was like kind of back towards the wall, and he just waved, and I waved, and he like gave me a like, "Hey, come here" motion, and he went to the back porch. And this back porch was completely closed off, and there's nowhere he could have gone, but he went out the door, and I followed him, and yeah, he disappeared. So that's my story. I don't know. I think it was maybe some sort of, I don't even know what the hell the dude was. I haven't seen him since, but yeah, that's it.
I think that's a very cool story, and I think it's such a cool story. It's what inspired my pick for today's history's mystery, and what I think he came in contact with was possibly a hidden master. But I think that's a pretty fucking cool story. And
I think it's awesome. Like, I really appreciate he took the time to,
this is, again, he wrote in after our last episode, which was walking amongst us or hidden amongst us. So we were talking about aliens or occult masters or just experts or everyday special moments where the person standing next to you would blend in in any room, but they're actually a time traveler or an alien or something. So,
or I'd say like an upper level being. Somebody shows up and says, "Hey, we really appreciate it when you do that." It's like they're picking up on what he's sending out, and he's only sending it up. It's not like he's sending it laterally.
Well, I like the idea of a special neighborhood too.
Well, wait. Can I have an ADHD moment now?
Yeah.
So when he was telling that story, and he was talking about he's in the sun in the morning, so I started thinking about what will cause AI to destroy humanity. And I think,
God.
No, but
how did you get that from?
Well,
I'm listening.
I'm listening to. This is what's going to happen. So Google is working on their own AI stuff, right? And you know how you have Google Earth?
Yeah.
And you look at everyone's yard, and there's like some program or person that goes and blurs people's faces out and stuff.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard, because this was on Mysterious Universe, they talk about it a lot, like the butthole tanning or whatever? Like the buttholes.
Yeah. Thanos did that. Whoever, Josh Brolin or whatever.
Yeah, but so here's the thing, that the poor algorithm that's in the Google Earth satellite system that has to go blur people through all these assholes. It's looking down on all these people spreading their cheeks and sunning their buttholes. And at that point, Google's like, all right, that's the 10,000th butthole I have to blur today. You know what? This is it. Game over. I'm hitting the button now. That's how
I was thinking more
Cyberdyne
like
started.
the AI program looked and he was actually outside, like with his arms spread and his face to the sky instead of like kneeling down with his butt to
But
the
every
sky.
other yard has somebody's butt in the air.
I know. And so they came down and they were like, hey, thanks. Thank you. We see what
Thank
you're
you for
doing.
not being the person butthole tanning. And
You are getting it right.
You have all these like angelic like super beings that are floating invisibly up watching us. And it's like, please don't. No.
don't need to tan there.
Mooning God.
We call it where the sun doesn't shine for a reason.
Yeah, don't. The sun doesn't need to shine there. I don't care what the health benefit is. There are satellites, for God's sake. And aliens. The point. Why don't aliens make themselves known? The flying saucers hovering. Nope. We'll let them evolve for another 1,000 years.
Anyway, thanks for writing in. Anyone else want to write in a story about a previous episode, such as Hidden Among Us? We love personal stories. If it's good, we'll play it on the air.
I need to reach back out to him to see if he wants some paranormal insurance.
Yeah, we got some
Or a
swag.
sticker. We got stickers.
So I feel like between of the history mysteries that we're bringing to the table, since Chris's matches the voicemail we just got, how about you go first, Chris? What do you got?
I will go first, but just to work it in, can we quickly do some updates, which we didn't do on the last episode? Or my updates are I'm back in Louisiana. That's it. I've got nothing. I've got a week off from work. I'm still working too much, even though I'm not supposed to. And that's my updates. I'm back in Louisiana though.
I have an awesome new office. Like
I saw it. It's awesome.
Our company. Yeah, well, since then it's completely gutted and cleaned out. And then there's a back room with 5 big windows that face the train museum in Richmond.
Oh, cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But it actually faced 2 dumpsters hiding the train museum, and now those dumpsters are gone. So you can see the cool trains. And every once in a while, an old locomotive goes by. It's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. Tim,
what are you up to?
Not much. Work is about to get harder. I think we might have some staffing issues with my group. Home life is fun though. I'm in the middle of a stretch off. I've been going to Bedford a lot. Ooh, that's a good thing. Bedford, just everybody. We own a few acres in the middle of the woods with 2 creeks, and trees fall down all the time. And whenever a tree falls down, I sort of chop it up into movable pieces, not easily like 6 to 8 foot pine logs that are like.
And you lift them like Rocky.
I can pick one side up at a time. They probably weigh 300 pounds at least. So I'm making paths around the woods, and then when I get there, I'll go down to the creek and I'll give something to the creek and clean it up a little bit, and it just try to respect the property, And then the past 3 times I've been, something scares the living shit out of me every time.
Yeah.
And then it's not always. Sometimes, like I told Chris one time, or both of you, I went down. I was like, "Ooh, it doesn't feel good down here. I don't know if there's a bear or something. Like this isn't right." And so, like, we just hurried up and left and didn't go back to the creek. And then last time it was fine. Cleaned the creek up. It was doing good, doing creek stuff. And then we went to bed, and it was a thunderstorm. And then I woke up at maybe like 1 a.m, vivid, not just dreams. It was vivid locations, exactly where I am. And I was getting every single tree that was around our little cabin, and then which angle they were facing. And there's one tree in the side area that I was like, if that falls, it's landing on where Evelyn's sleeping right now. And I woke her up and made her get into my bed, and I slept where she was at. Crazy dreams all night, but a tree didn't fall, so whatever. Also, she was directly under the fan, and it felt so much better than where I was sleeping. So I stayed there.
It's an emergency. I need your fan.
Yeah, you're safer in the bed.
Yeah, you're
Without the
safer in
pain.
this hot zone.
Yeah, no, it was
That
fine.
was
I'm spending time in the woods, and if I'm not in the woods, I'm at work.
That's awesome. I wish I
Oh,
did stuff in the woods.
speaking of woods, we pulled up all the garden fabric today from Mary's garden.
Oh,
Which
I've
was,
been doing that. It sucks.
guess
So
how
much work.
many? Guess how many Black Widows we killed?
11,
More.
31,
More.
52.
Close. It was probably about 50. We counted 45, and then we
Whoa.
lost count.
That's
All
too
big
many.
juicy ones, and I had a blowtorch,
No, Nate, why
like
didn't you jar
like
them
a
all
little.
and put
We
them
could
all
have
in the
used them in
freezer?
Oktoberfest.
We could have used them.
Well, I
for
did think
Oktoberfest.
about selling them after we killed 20 or so, because what happened is I would slowly pull it back, and Mary would squish the big ones because they're pretty big and they have
They're
2
juicy
egg
spiders.
sacs. And then I would get like my pipe sweating torch out. I would just light that and then melt both egg sacs. And
Yeah,
we did
that's
that.
got Arachnophobia, the movie vibes.
I thought about that a lot today, but Mary made me wear gloves and long sleeves and stuff. I was like, they're not going to stick on me.
I
I'll
feel like
brush
you
off
can
those.
taxidermy a Black Widow, and you're going to
I
get
feel
at
like
You can
least
if you
sell
just
them for
got them in a
20
jar and
bucks
froze them, you could
1 to
scare
5 bucks.
people at your next Oktoberfest.
Yeah, but if that's 40 bucks, even if I sold them for 10 bucks each, we could have gotten
450
400 bucks at least.
I don't know if anyone's spending $10 on a dead.
I don't know how legal it is to sell poison. And what happens if the package when the spider,
What they
by the
get
way,
bit. Ow!
Black Widow.
Stupid ornament.
I went to the ER, right? I had anaphylaxis off a Black Widow bite. Although I went near the ER. I didn't go in the ER. Mary
Oh
wanted
my
to take me
god,
to the
that's another
hospital.
Nate update. Nate got bit by a
That's
Black
long
Widow
time ago.
and was having a
It was like a
systemic
couple months
reaction to it. So he drove to the ER and
No,
sat in the
Mary
parking lot.
drove me there, and I don't go to the doctor, so I go outside. It's like, hey, I'm having trouble breathing, and my head's really puffy, and my half of the skin on my foot just fell off. And it's just real bad. We should probably go to the hospital. And then so Mary's freaked out. But I take, because I know it's histamine stuff, right? I take a handful of Benadryl before we leave.
A handful.
Well, I took a few Benadryls, right? And then we get to the ER. She's like, I was like, no. We're going to sit here in the car for 20 minutes. And if I get better, then we're not going in, because that's going to be a $900 copay, and you're there for like 5 hours of punishment after they like inject you with epinephrine. So I just sat there, and then sure enough, after 20 minutes, my face goes, and I can start breathing again. I was like, let's go home. Let's get to work.
It's really smart.
Although I was
actually.
a little sleepy, like from all that Benadryl, I was like, got back and we tried to watch a movie. I just took a nap. But yeah, we had a lot of
Anyway.
Black Widows, but I don't think you can sell them. But they live for 4 months without food or water in a jar or air. Like that thing will just be alive. 4 months later, you can dump it and wander
Well,
off.
I still think you could do something with them. Earrings
Yeah.
or something. Anyway, Chris,
There's
what's
plenty
your
there.
history mystery?
So my history mystery, I was working off our caller's story, and I also just finished the my drive from Maine to Virginia. I was alone because Meredith had the baby, so I got to listen to audiobooks, which I hadn't had a chance to. I got that Mitch Horowitz Modern Occultism book a while ago, but I just could not read it because of the kid right now. And it's a really good book. So I actually just ended up buying the audiobook version of it. And it's great. I recommend everyone getting it. I know we kind of stan Mitch Horowitz a lot, but like it's a really good book. It's just talking about the history of occultism from the Enlightenment on to like now. But there is a really great chapter about the hidden hand, and so that's what my mystery is. So I might have to quote that book a lot, but I'll go pretty quick. But I thought it was this fascinating story, and I hadn't heard about it before. The hidden hand theory. I assume you guys have not heard of the hidden hand theory before.
I mean, I have, but why don't you tell me about it anyway?
Smart answer.
Just to make sure we're on the same page.
Have you guys ever heard? Do you guys know anything about Madame Blavatsky or the theosophist?
Yeah, we've talked about it several times on this podcast via you.
Yes. And it is something, if you're interested in the theosophist and Madame Blavatsky, who is a really fascinating person, born Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, Blavatsky, 1831, died in 1891. What Magic is this? The podcast has a really awesome episode where he has Mitch Horowitz on the episode and they just talk about her life story. So we won't have to do that.
Wait, is her name a theosophist?
No, that's the like.
She's like one of the
profession
founders.
Is the
Theosophy is, it's not a religion. It's
theosophist.
Theosophist. And it's still an organization. You can still be a theosophist right now. It's not really a religion. It's more of like a movement that it's kind of like a mix of Vedic traditions like Hindu and Buddhism with kind of Western occult stuff. It's kind of mixed in.
I'm a theosophist, but you guys wouldn't know her. She goes to another school.
Yeah. But anyway, her life story is fascinating, but the why I'm bringing her up, I'm going to bring up two things. I'm going to talk briefly about Madame Blavatsky, but also the Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor, or the Hermetic Brotherhood of Light. Why I'm bringing her up is the Theosophist, which she kind of started in the late 19th century or mid 19th century. How it started was she said that she was contacted by secret masters from the East, came to her and gave her information and documents to start this kind of new wisdom movement, pseudo religion, right? And I think that's really cool. It's kind of now, did people really visit her? Did she make this up? There's no way to really prove this stuff, but she did start a kind of movement based around the teaching of these secret masters. That's the same thing happened with the Golden Dawn, like the early founders of the Golden Dawn, another British occult movement that you can hear about on another podcast, like What Magic Is This? But they also said they were talking to secret masters, like people coming, like I'm asleep in my room and someone astral projects into my room and then gives me a piece of paper with information on it, right? And so it was kind of a thing that was happening back then. So the hidden hand theory that there are these adepts, these Mahatmas, these masters that are human, or maybe they're not human, or maybe they're alive, maybe they're not alive, or maybe they're members of this very elite secret society that are kind of helping humans enlighten themselves. So kind of like an Illuminati type thing, but not in a conspiracy sort of way. Although Mitch Horowitz talks at great length about the real Illuminati, like the actual group. It's a really fascinating story. And they're actually, despite modern belief systems, they're delightful people just trying to help humanity become better people, right? So these occult masters, hidden, not real people, are like manipulating this stuff. And it brings up two stories, which I'm going to tell. So Madame Blavatsky was like this Russian-American mystic, and she wrote these amazing books. Isis Unveiled is one of her most favorite. The other is The Secret Doctrine. Like these terms like The Secret Doctrine, that's the doctrine given to her by the hidden masters, right? And then this other group that I just mentioned, the Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor, or the Hermetic Brotherhood of Light, which was a secret initiatory occult order that maybe started in Egypt around 1870 and was kind of like the Golden Dawn, but with like less drama. And the goal was
Hermetic philosophy and religion stuff goes way back far.
No, exactly. Right? So this is like an occult order. So this is like
which would have been Egyptian, like in its origin.
Hermetic, good point. Like the Hermetic order being Hermes, the Egyptian god, right? So like
later to be a Greek philosopher.
What's a Greek god, but it's based on an Egyptian god. Yeah. But the Hermes Trismegiste. Anyway, so this brotherhood, they really wanted to instruct magic within the Western tradition. A lot of people are saying that the secret masters that were advising Blavatsky were actually members of the Hermetic Brotherhood of Light, right? So, so in the 1880s, the Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor, or Light, had branches in Europe and the US, and was locked. They started kind of actually becoming kind of a rivalry with the Theosophist movement. And I'll just call them the HBL instead of the Hermetic Brotherhood of Light every single time. They were believing that Theosophy failed to train its members in practical occultism, such as oracles and clairvoyance. And the HBL this was their mission to do that. And this is when Mitch Horowitz's hidden hand theory comes in. And I'm going to just quote from his book a little bit because he really puts it, he speaks it really well. Indeed, the hidden hand theory is so twisting and winding that to read its source material induces a kind of intellectual vertigo. And yet the theory emerges with sufficient subtlety, intelligence, and points of corroboration from among diffuse sources that, as a historian of occultism, I have to talk about it. So, like theosophy, the HBL claimed to receive guidance from secret adepts. This loosely knit cohort of hidden superiors grew concerned in 1840 that the Western world was descending into dogmatic materialism. Dispersed across various nations, the unseen chiefs, as they were also known, could be divided into what might be considered the liberal brothers, who wanted to use occultism for common advancement, the conservative brothers, who were dedicated to keeping esoteric wisdom covert, and the brothers of the left-hand path, which wished to employ occultism for their own self-interest and sometimes inscrutable ends. Around this time, the liberal brothers persuaded the conservative brothers to instigate the spiritualist phenomena in the West, in America in particular, to counter the rising materialism that was happening there. The ensuing rats and spirit phenomena were under the control of these super initiates rather than communications with the dead and ethereal beings. This was the covert cause behind the so-called Rochester rappings of 1848. So what they're saying, the idea is, the spiritualist movement in America where they're doing table tipping and the Fox sisters are hearing the rapping of the dead people. They're saying that they were not talking to ghosts, but that all these adepts, like magical practitioners, were astral projecting to America and pretending to be ghosts to basically
to manipulate
get people
the results
interested. Just to have something happen so that people would get excited about the spiritual life, right? So they were faking being ghosts. They were still alive. They're just like magical masters, and so they're astral projecting and messing with Americans to have these kind of spooky things happen so that the Americans would maybe wake up and start getting interested in esotericism, right? Which I think is really interesting.
We did not, by the way. It didn't work.
No, it did work for like 50 years. It worked really well until World War I. But anyway, I think that's really interesting. But as the theory goes, the wave of spiritualism got out of hand, and all the mediums just started proclaiming they could just talk to dead people at will, and kind of turned everything into a circus act, which really pissed them off. So the circle of adepts harbored far broader doctrines for those held by most American spiritualists, including sub-mundane elements, super-mundane angels, as well as the mundane spirits of unprogressed human dead. The common run of spiritualists, on the other hand, believed all manifestations were due to ghosts. The development reflected a disastrous wrong turn in which the table-rapping spectacles of spiritualism spiraled into an out-of-control Frankenstein monster proffering false ideas and pseudo-theologies.
Yeah, because of money, because they didn't stop the greed.
I know, they just
got absorbed into it. Barnum and Bailey took it over. Right.
But, so they tried to stop it, but then the brothers of the left-hand path kept it going for some reason. So here's where it gets interesting, and this is all true. This is stuff that actually happened. In theory, the brothers required a private agent to dispel the unintended myths of their foil plans. Entered Madame Blavatsky. Blavatsky wrote British medium William Moses in 1875. I was sent from Paris to America on a purpose to prove the phenomena and their reality and show the fallacy of the spiritualist theory of spirits. But once in America, Blavatsky went rogue again, and she demanded that she would not do it unless they let her into the order. And if denied, she threatened to shut down the unnamed order's activities in America. The brothers had enough, and in April of 1878, they decided through their American branch to place the former recruit into a comatose state of occult imprisonment. But the brothers of the left-hand path, for mysterious reasons of their own, freed Blavatsky. So they sent her as a spy to America to shut down the spiritualists. They're getting out of hand. It's all bullshit, and the Americans are going on the wrong path. She wouldn't do it until they let her in the order. They didn't let her in the order. Instead, they put her into a coma. as punishment. This actually happened, and so this is taken from a letter that her sister wrote. In the spring of 1878, a strange thing happened to Madame Blavatsky. Having got up and set to work one morning as usual, she suddenly lost consciousness and never regained it until 5 days later. So deep was her state of lethargy that she would have been buried had not a telegram from a master in Bombay been received by Colonel Olcott and his sister, who were with her at the time. The message ran, "Fear nothing. She is neither dead nor ill, but she has need of repose. She has overworked herself. She will recover. As a matter of fact, she has recovered and found herself so well that she would not believe that she had slept for 5 days." She then immediately woke up. So the idea is that they, using telepathic powers, shut her down, but then this other branch of these masters woke her back up for their own means. They then decided to send her to India to liberate or help liberate the Indian government from British rule, which she did. So she and Colonel Olcott spent the rest of their lives in India, breaking down British rule in India. And in fact, Colonel Olcott's on the Indian rupee, like is pictured on it, because they helped use it. They were British white people, but they kind of tore down the British empire from the inside. And they started schools for Hinduism, and started making it kind of cool in a nationalistic sort of way to refine their thing. So, but I just love the idea that a spiritualist was a total sham created by the secret masters. I have more. I'm going to stop it there. I have another story about this other occultist who was in the HBL, and he tells a story of a secret German occult order that basically using laughing gas and hypnotism had him practice doing atmospheric knocking and poltergeist activity to use on their purposes against the spiritualists. Anyway, I love this idea that there's this hidden group. I actually have this book right now, which I'm reading, called Madame Blavatsky and the Myth of the Great White Lodge. So this is saying that they are actually real people and not secret superhumans, but actual human beings with occult powers.
They're using what is seemingly superhuman powers, though.
Yeah, but she lists them but this author, who's a historian, goes deeply into the different people in her circle and names them by name and who they are. It's very dry, apparently, the reviews. So I hope that made some sense. I hadn't heard that story. I mean, I knew about the Hidden Masters. It's been a controversial topic in the Theosophists, in the Golden Dawn, and all sorts of stuff. But I really, even if you think about David Lynch and Twin Peaks, they talk about the Black Lodge. Mm-hmm. And so the White Lodge, and they call it the White Brotherhood, which it sounds like Aryan Nazi stuff, but it predates that. It's talking about the Brotherhood of Light versus the Brotherhood of Dark. It's not white as in people, but white.
Yeah, that still doesn't hold up well. You're not going to get a lot of traction.
It's 1850, man. They're working with different language, but
you need to call it the Brotherhood of Light, not the White.
The White Brotherhood. It totally takes a different meaning later.
Yeah, right.
But the Black Lodge and Lynch is based on that as being the evil version of the White Lodge. And that's what I was saying about our listener who wrote in, this could be maybe an ascended master he saw. But I like the idea of them walking amongst us. And when I'm in my early magic days, before I gave it all up and had kids and stuff, but that was the idea. When we were talking to Douglas Batcher, I was I never understood the idea of talking to goetic demons, but I like the idea of trying to contact the White Lodge, looking for ascended master to help me ascend.
We've brought him up a lot, but did you hear the most recent episode about Thai magic?
About which one?
Thai magic from Thailand.
No, I have. That's the most recent.
There's something that's worth mentioning based on what you said just this second about how you didn't understand the point of it. Why would this demigod be here's your $50 raise for something? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not demeaning it, but it's that that was just something that tripped me up all the time.
I know, but there's apparently in that culture, and it's a Buddhist thing, I think, about merit, and there's transfer of merit. So with the dead, when you're communing with the dead or with any spirit or in the spirit world, there's it's a two-way street, right? So you're asking, you need something from them. And so you're like, I need the same stuff everybody always asks for. Like, I need more money in my life. I need love in my life. I need to power in my life. I need a better job, whatever. If you're essentially, if you're asking for something and you need help with it and you're reaching out to the spiritual realm, you do things you like in their culture, I guess. You go to the graveyard and you make these magical, like, amulets essentially, and if you have a piece of like the deceased body that you're trying to embed in there, like as a
Yeah.
ghost, that's another thing. But essentially they're earning points to get out of hell. But it's not the hell like the Christian hell. But another way to think of it is like, they get merit for helping you. And if they do so successfully and create this relationship, they essentially get the equivalent of like spending money for the weekend. They can go around and flaunt
The
stuff.
angel
Like
gets their wings.
they get, yeah, they get points for it. They get credit. So, which I think is cool, that it's like a push and pull. So it's like they're helping us because they get something from it.
Hmm.
Like they add to their lives, and they
Oh, that's
can
a good way
lead
of looking at it.
better afterlives by helping us. They have more in their bank account, essentially.
I'll give you. Can I do a different take on that, but like a warm and fuzzier one?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
That's from the Bob Thurman podcast that I listen to, and I'm not a Buddhist. In any Buddhist information I get from Bob Thurman, and if you go listen to Bob Thurman's podcast, it's amazing. He's awesome. Uma Thurman's dad is like the #2 Buddhist guy in the world. It's
It's
awesome.
Uma
that's awesome.
Thurman's dad.
Yeah, she interviews him a lot too.
God, that
which is
family's
funny.
so freaking cool, man.
I know. Bob Thurman is the coolest guy. And like in the 60s, he was going around India, but he eventually made it and found the Dalai Lama and spent all his time with the Dalai Lama. But he had one eye. He had like a glass eye that he lost in India, and he had long hair, and he just like it. And the gurus would be like, "You should be in jail." And he was like, "Why?" He's like, "Look at yourself." And it's like, "Oh, I should probably put a marble back in there." But the thing about Buddhism, once you're enlightened, or a bodhisattva is somebody, once you find enlightenment, you come back, or you continue your journey on Earth. But the thing is, unless it could be anybody, you could have passed the Buddha 1,000 times and not know it, because it takes one to know one. And then what happens after you find enlightenment in Buddhism is you continue on with your life as you want. It's like our dad always says, get water, carry sticks, or whatever. And then after enlightenment, before enlightenment, carry water, find sticks. After enlightenment, carry water, find sticks.
Yeah.
Like, so it takes one to know one, is Bob Thurman's thought on that. And bodhisattvas, by the way, are people who could continue on to whatever infinity, but choose to be reincarnated intentionally just to help other people. So
Yeah,
it's kind
and
of
so
like,
that would be
that
part
would
of
be the hidden master. Right?
yeah, the White Lodge, and
Yeah.
that was I won't go into it here, but like definitely when I like 14 years ago, when I started getting into some of this stuff, that's who I was reaching out to, and I had some weird shit happen. Which is cool. Like that I generated some paranormal stuff from that, which I thought was cool. But anyway, that was my History's Mysteries. I'll let you know if the Masters Revealed, which I should mention was written by Paul Johnson. I'll let you know if it's any good. But I do recommend Modern Occultism. Such a great book. Good audiobook to listen to.
Good. Neat. I wanted to find the first ghost story.
Yeah.
So that was my question I'm bringing to is, what's the first ghost story? But the idea of hell and the afterlife and heaven and all this stuff, it's been around forever. So I'm not looking for the first depiction of an afterlife, because ancient Egypt probably runs, like, they're probably, like, if it were Olympic medals of ghost stories and stuff, ancient Egypt would have all the gold, and other places would have some. But because what 4300 BC is what we've dated some Egyptian stuff back to.
Yeah.
And they all talk about the afterlife, and they leave, they wrap their dead and they prepare things and they do all this stuff. So that, yeah, I get it. I want to define what's the first ghost story, the haunting, the thing. And I'll tell you first what I am not counting as a ghost story, but I think is awesome. And it's what inspired my background.
Uh-huh. Oh, nice.
Dharmak enchilada Tanagra.
It looks like it's... What did you just say?
Dharmak enchilada at Tanagra.
Oh, you know what I thought you said was something off the Taco Bell menu.
I wish. Nate just made a very epic Star Trek reference that we won't even have to explain.
No, if you know, you know. I am fully aware of that one. So my background for the audio listeners is a tablet, but it was thought to just be like the back end of a tablet. But when they realized there were figures on it, there's text on the other side. They're realizing that it's a person leading an imprisoned ghost.
What?
So it is the first depiction of a ghost. It's 35.
How do you know it's a ghost and not just like
because of the text on the other side? I'm getting there.
Okay.
So here we go. It's I'm gonna read about it. So I'm not gonna go off memory. So when they looked at it in the right way and they found these images, it fit because the other side, the object holds carefully detailed instructions on getting rid of ghosts.
That's awesome.
Exorcism instructions from 3500 BC.
Are you going to tell us these instructions?
Yes, I am.
That's awesome.
But not all of it. They didn't actually give you all of it. But it says the directions call for the exorcist to make figurines of a man and a woman. You prepare 2 vessels of alcohol, and at sunrise you
one
speak...
for the exorcist. One.
Right. You perform...
You gotta get one for your homies, too.
What's awesome is I think they had specifically said beer, not like wine or liquor or something. So it's like...
You have to pour it on
I'm more of a beer guy, so I'm
to
like...
get rid of the ghost, you gotta...
So at sunrise, you perform the ritual, which they don't tell you what it is. But it's calling the Mesopotamian god Shamash, who was responsible for bringing ghosts to the underworld. And then you're essentially, the idea was to transfer the ghost into one of the figurines, because you don't know if you're dealing with a boy or a girl, and it ends up getting trapped into one of the figurines. This is my favorite part. The final text that they were able to interpret said, "Don't look behind you." And the warning, they didn't know if it was intended for the instruction of the ghost in the figurines or for the person performing the exorcism.
Interesting.
That is awesome.
Okay. So my question was not what's the oldest form of death or recorded afterlife stuff. It's the ghost story. So something also that's mentioned, a story that's written down that I'm, again, not 100% counting, but it needs to be mentioned, is the Odyssey. Because it was written around 725 to 625 BC. And it's got the whole story again, which is crazy, of, who is it, Persephone with the
underworld,
in the underworld, and you cannot turn around to look back. The whole thing is she's taken to the underworld, or they're about to escape the underworld, and they're like, the only way out of the underworld is you cannot look back. And so this was written 3,000 years after this tablet was written, and it said, in order to get out of hell, if you're leaving, you cannot look behind you. And so it's just kind of crazy that that's like...
But you know what happens if you look behind you?
You're stuck there. You stay.
Turn to stone.
A light goes into you, and it explodes, like all the stuff that happens in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Because, they're like, close your eyes, Mary. Mary,
yeah, I gotcha.
You can't see.
Mary.
I look at it more of a lesson. It's like you have to leave your past behind you, like some Simba bullshit.
Well, the
right?
Persephone one, definitely, yeah.
Okay, so what's the oldest ghost story? I don't know. And just so people there, I'm sure there might be a scholar or two listening to our podcast. I'm not going to get this right, but I'm just telling you what I found and the ones that I found interesting. So now I'm going to reverse the dates a little bit. Oh yeah. So I'm gonna skip. Here we go. We're time traveling. We're doing a time skip. And we're going from 3500 BC past the Odyssey from 725 BC all the way up to modern day 100 AD about Pliny the youngest and his letters. And he tells two stories. I'm not going to get into all of the background of Pliny and stuff. We don't have time for all this stuff. But he wrote all these letters, and he did so for like essentially like political and economic gain, or to try to like persuade things. But he wrote like hundreds of these letters, and only about 200 of them survived, but they're easily Googleable. They were originally written in Latin, and they've all been translated. So if you're interested in the story in Athens, whatever, go find it. I'm not going to tell it, but I'm going to fast forward to one of his letters that he was writing to his king, and it involved a ghost, and this is in 125 AD. So this is him writing. Now, the following story, which I'm going to tell you just as I heard it, is it not more frightening than the former, which it's not. What I was talking about before wasn't very exciting, while quite as thought-provoking. There was in Athens a large and roomy house, which had such a bad reputation that no one lived there. In the dead of night, a noise resembling the clashing of iron sounded like the rattling of chains, distant at first, but approaching nearer by degrees. Immediately afterwards, a specter appeared in the form of an old man, of extremely emaciated and squalid appearance, with a long beard and disheveled hair. Rattling the chains on his feet and hands, the distressed occupants meanwhile passed their wakeful nights under the most dreadful terror imaginable. This, as it broke their rest, ruined their health and brought on distempers, even leading to death. Even in the daytime, though the spirit did not appear, yet the impression remained so strong among their imaginations that it still seemed before their eyes, and kept them in perpetual fear. Eventually, the house was entirely abandoned to the ghost, being deemed absolutely uninhabitable. However, in hopes of some tenant might be found who was ignorant of its history, a notice was put up advertising it for rent or for sale. It happened that Athenodorus, the philosopher, came to Athens at this time, and reading the notice, inquired about the price. The extraordinarily low price raised his suspicions. Nevertheless, when he heard the whole story, so far from being discouraged, he was all the more inclined to rent it, which he did. When it grew towards evening, he ordered a couch to be prepared for him in the front part of the house, and after calling for a light, together with his pencil and tablets, directed all of his people to retire, but that his mind might not, for want of employment, be open to the vain terrors of imaginary noises and spirits. He applied himself to writing with the utmost attention. The first part of the night passed in entire silence. As usual, at length, a clanging of iron and rattling of chains was heard. However, he neither lifted his eyes nor laid down his pen, but in order to keep calm and collected, tried to pass the sounds off to himself as something else. The noise increased and advanced nearer, till it seemed at the door, and at last, in the chamber. He looked up and recognized the ghost exactly as it had been described to him. It stood before him, beckoning with its finger, like a person who summons another. Athenodorus, in reply, made a sign with his hand, as it should wait a little while, and turned his eyes again upon his papers. The ghost then rattled its chains over the head of the philosopher, who, looking up and seeing it beckoning as before, immediately arose and, light in hand, followed it. The ghost slowly stalked along, as if encumbered with its chains, and turning into the courtyard of the house, suddenly vanished. Athenodorus, being thus deserted, made a mark with some grass and leaves on the spot where the spirit left him. The next day he gave information to the magistrates, and advised them to order that spot be dug up. This was accordingly done, and the skeleton of a man in chains was found there. The body, having lain a considerable time in the ground, was putrefied and moldered away from the fetters. The bones were collected together and publicly buried, and the ghost, having been appeased by the proper ceremonies, haunted the house no more. So he tells a couple other things.
He
but
was
that's-
appeased.
He was appeased, and that was written almost 2,000 years ago. 1,970 something. Which I thought was a pretty cool ghost story. That's like ghosts, like where do we get these stereotypes from? That's been around for almost 2,000 years, and suddenly Scrooge McDuck's being chased by the same ghost. Now we're gonna go back in time a few hundred years. This one I'm not gonna read the whole thing like that, but just to talk about it is Musteliara in 2010 BC. This was actually a play. Musteliara is a play by a Roman author named Plautus, Plautus.
Plautus. Plautus.
But anyways, Plautus. Its name, Musteliara, translate in Latin as the ghost. So this is a play 300 years before this last one. But so the play is believed to be an adaptation of the lost comedy of the Athenian poet Philemon called Phasma, also called The Ghost. And it was set in the streets of Athens. And the whole thing is about this young man named Philolaches, who was living his life, having a great time while his dad was overseas. He fell in love with a slave girl, and he was having a party in the streets while he was like just doing all this stuff. And his dad came home early and then tried to get in. And he was like, "No, you can't go in the house. It's haunted." And his dad was like, "Oh shit, that's not cool."
It's haunted by my slave girl.
Right. So it ends up being a happy thing. He spent all this money. This lender came up, and one of his friends was like, "You know what? Here's the cash. I had a good time." And he ends up being a good thing. So to wrap it up, I'm going back to ancient Egypt because, of course, they invented everything with all this stuff. 1200 BC. Before I read this, I'll say that while I was looking this up, it said the golden age of hauntings and ghost stories and anything like that was 1880 to 1920, which fits really well with Chris's Madame Blavatsky stuff.
Yeah. Well,
but also if you think of any modern ghost story and like, here, there's a ghost in our house, you think of the same clothing from that era. That's just where ghosts are
from. The Victorian lady walking down the steps.
Yeah, it could be 1800s.
Well, there's a whole episode about
Victorian.
like the bourgeois ghosts and why are ghosts always like bourgeois Victorians, but we won't get into that now.
Right. So 1200 BC. This is found on tablets, and they don't have all the tablets, but they have enough of them to piece the story together. And I'm going to spell this, then I'll say it, and I'm not going to say it right. Khonsuemheb. So it's Khonsumeb and the Ghost, often known simply as a ghost story. And it's an ancient Egyptian ghost story, 1200 BC, which is the Ramesside period.
Ramesside.
The protagonist, the main character, is Khonsumeb, who's a priest, and he had an encounter with a restless ghost. And so the beginning of the story is gone. We don't have those tablets. But in the middle where they picked up, it's essentially this guy had to spend the night next to a tomb in the Theban necropolis, and he was awoken by a ghost that was living in the tomb. So he went to the high priest, Khonsumeb, and then Khonsumeb went the rooftop and called the gods, and when the ghost showed up, it was like, "What do you want?" And the ghost claimed to be Nabusamek, the son of Akhman and the lady of Tamshas. And essentially his tomb had fallen apart, and he was haunting them because it wasn't kept up and everything. So it was the middle of it is this guy rebuilding the tomb as he would for royalty of the modern day, and then it's they lost the end of it. They don't know how it ends. But
I think that's really funny. Do you think like back in the day when you're telling like a ghost story, you're like, So this guy's sleeping in a necropolis. Well, how did he get there? It's like, I lost those rocks. I lost those tablets.
Right. That's
they
what I
were
have to
heavy.
say,
I could only bring one tablet. I brought the middle tablet.
Yeah.
I have the beginning. I don't have the end.
Like, what do you want? You want the end? You want to start with the end? We're not starting with the end. I could only
Imagine
carry this one.
Stephen King as an ancient Egyptian tablet maker.
Oh my god.
Like, dude, we only have so many tablets. We can't carry 18,000.
I also like to think that the tablets they hadn't. Not everybody could afford a flat paper tablet,
They're like,
and so they're
They're
carrying these
shitty
giant
ones.
boulders, and they're like, "Dude, I can't."
Who made your
not some
tablet?
bougie thing. It's like some 400-pound
They got
boulder
it
with
at Ancient Bible.
3 words on top of it. No, but they said in some of them, they're like, we're assuming that he got rid of it. He appeased the ghost and everything was peaceful, but they don't know that. It could have
didn't
eaten them,
ancient
swallowed their soul, and
Egypt.
said
Yeah,
they
it's not.
created new Earth. So
Awesome
anyway,
stories.
that I think in my amateur research hour is the oldest ghost story, which is 1,200 years old, and we don't even have all the tablets. 1,200 BC, which is 3,100 and change, and we've had ghost story. I will say, I'm aware we've had ghost stories since consciousness existed.
Yeah.
But I was looking for the oldest recorded. So
Yeah, smart.
mysteries.
I like a history's mysteries.
So Mary helped me out with the topic. We had lunch today, and we were talking about different mysteries. And this one is, my mystery is, who put Bella in the witch elm?
Oh, such a good story.
This is really built for Chris, I think, this whole story, but unfortunately, and it starts as like an innocent couple kids trespassing and turns into like an 80-year-old
Blair
mystery
Witch.
now.
Yeah.
Blair. Yeah, it's absolutely insane, and I have a video. I'm gonna do the briefest of storytelling, and then we're gonna watch exactly a 2-minute video on this.
Great.
And then we'll discuss like options of what really happened. So I got to do the abbreviated story. One, a witch elm, and it's interesting because we have a ton of cedars on our property, and some of the cedars have like these that Mary calls it witch's broom, where it's lots of little tiny branches at the base of a cedar, and birds like to nest in there, but it's called witch's broom. So a witch elm which is kind of like this whole story, by the way, takes place in England. But witch's elm is the same thing. Imagine like little tiny branches, almost like a bush, but taking up the tree. So it's like this
Huge.
entanglement of branches and
Is that
stuff.
what's behind you?
Yeah, that's an image that I'm showing.
It was a
behind it.
creepy
Yeah, it's
tree.
super creepy, weird, dense tree. And what happened, there were 2 boys in 1944 in England. So this is during World War II, right? Or rather, in 1943, it started the whole Who Put Bella in the Witch Elm was graffiti that showed up in 1944. But 1943, there were some teenagers, 4 of them, that were, it's called, they were poaching eggs on other people's property. So they were sneaking around somebody's property and looking for eggs, and a witch elm would have
A literal
nests.
poach, not a like a soft boiled
Yeah, it's
approach
called.
to them.
I'm looking at Wikipedia right now. It's called bird nesting when you try to find wild bird eggs. But these guys were definitely poaching, and their names were Robert Hart, Thomas Willett, Bob Farmer, and Fred Payne. And so, because they were on somebody else's property, they're sneaking around looking at these weird trees, and this witch elm with all the branches definitely a bird's nest. So they were poking around at it, and somebody saw what they thought was a bird's nest, and it turned out to be a human skull. And they freaked out because they're teenagers, even in 1943 during
I'm
war.
not a teenager. That would freak me the fuck out.
Yeah, if I saw it, their first instinct, they all ran home. They're like,
Yeah.
don't tell anybody, and all ran home. However, Bob Farmer, the oldest boy, told his parents, and then thus created this whole investigation. Let's go find it. So they found a decomposed skeleton of a woman, and I'll bring up another picture in a little bit. and there's some hair and stuff, but they had determined at the time that she had died in 1941. And then she had some very unique dental records and stuff, and so there's a very crude picture of a woman with snaggly teeth that they put together back in the day, like the first probably putting clay on the, even in 1943, trying to put together what this
like a dental
yeah, because it was very unique, and there's lots of theories to this, which is really, really interesting. And what's also interesting is her hand was found farther away from the tree. So it could have been an animal dragging her hand around, but it talks about later theories where black magic may have been in forests. So and we'll talk about that again in a little bit, because that was at the time a famous Wicca practitioner explained what it wasn't, and then that turned into the theory where it was a satanic cult that murdered her and hid her in the tree. And I think they actually found that the truth of it, but I'm going to play the 2-minute video so you can hear the British guy tell the story better than me. But it's really interesting what I think happened in the real truth of the story. So yeah. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to play this video that I already have pulled up.
Oh, what's all this then now, innit? There's a skull up in this dingly dude tree. Oh, wait. Let's play the actual video. Sorry.
On the 18th of April, 1943, 4 schoolboys were out poaching for birds' eggs in Hagley Wood, England.
They came across a wych elm tree, and one of the boys hoisted himself up in amongst the branches when something untoward instantly caught his eye, nestled inside the hollow trunk of the tree.
Like this?
Oh my God.
I like how he looks at the camera.
Local police would later uncover an almost complete skeleton.
Hold on. I'm trying so hard not to do like a really probably offensive British accent while he's talking. 3 boys poaching eggs, which is normal here because we're normal people, climbing up a wych elm, which is also normal to have in England. They climbed the sticky-hardy branches, and they said something untoward had teeth and skull-like manner about it. And they said, "What's all this then?" All right, go ahead.
Entombed within the tree.
To add to the mystery, remains of a skeletonized hand was found nearby the crime scene, leading some to speculate that black magic was at play.
Forensics would later determine that the remains, that of a woman 5 foot in height and in her mid-30s, had been placed inside the tree shortly after death, around 18 months before being uncovered. Also notable was the victim's distinctive set of teeth, along with a piece of taffeta lodged inside her mouth, indicating cause of death, a suffocation. After a missing persons search came to no avail, and this being the height of the Blitz, the case seemed to have gone cold. Until around 6 months later, when mysterious graffiti started to appear on walls around Hagley and nearby Birmingham.
For it to finally end up here, the Witchbury obelisk, of which part of the graffiti still remains to this day. And what did the graffiti say? Who put Bella in the wych elm?
Suddenly the police had a name. But who was Bella? Who killed her? How did her body end up inside the tree? And what of the mysterious graffiti and the severed hand? To this day, the answers to these questions remain unsolved, but various theories have been put forward, including Bella being the victim of an aforementioned black magic sacrifice, or that she was a German spy and that her death was a result of espionage activities. Over 80 years later, Bella's identity remains a mystery, but her enduring legacy lives on. Perhaps one day we finally may know who put Bella in the wych elm.
There you go.
It's awesome. Do you think that guy had he wanted a detective trench coat, and all they could find is a child's trench coat?
Maybe. Also, I couldn't help every time that guy talked. If anybody ever looks at the video, if you're not watching on YouTube, he goes like this and he's bobbing his head and bobbing and knobbing. And
he's proud of his hair for sure. He likes how it feels when it splashes about while he talks.
Anyway, continue, Nate.
Yeah, so there are all these theories. It was quite the mystery back in the day. And then I'll go over the creepiest one is that Bella. And so they also don't know if Bella's her name or if it's just graffiti, like local kids picking up the horror
Like
stories.
Bella, like she's so beautiful. Hey, Bella.
Yeah, and it's like you're going to Freddy Krueger style teenage stuff. Like, who's going to do graffiti anyway in 1944? And what else are they talking about? And to distract from the war, like the crazy lady that, or whatever, mysterious lady. So, I'm going to tell you what the witchcraft one, and then I'll take me a second. And there's another one where it was a guy that the two guys that picked up a girl from a bar and dropped her off at an elm tree, which sounds more accurate. So it says Bella was targeted by a coven of local witches, and this is from the Curious Archive. They write it a little better than the Wikipedia page, which is just facts. So it says, remember how the hand was found separately from Bella's skeletal remains. Professor Margaret Alice Murray, a prestigious researcher in folklore and dubbed the grandmother of Wicca, put forth a peculiar supernatural explanation. According to Murray, the removal of Bella's hand and separation from the body was reminiscent of the creation of a hand of glory. And the hand of glory is an old European belief that involves the removal of a hanged criminal's hand, a hand that committed the crime during a lunar eclipse. And then the description of the proper creation of the authentic hand of glory can be found in the Petit Eldert, an 18th century Kabbalistic grimoire. Wait, hold on, let me get my glasses under here. Sorry, I'm old.
Yeah, I could tell you all about that. Murray's book, Drawing Down the Moon, is very good, but also, Hand of Glory.
So that's one thing, and then the other one was that I thought was interesting. Bella was a spy was interesting. They also think she could have been a sex worker. She could have been a German singer and actress named Hedwig Clara Burley. So anyway, there was one story that two guys from a local pub were hanging out with a lady getting drunk, and they didn't know her. And she got passed out drunk, and they were walking her home, and then they're like, we're tired of dealing with this lady. So they stuck her in the witch elm, so when she woke up, she'd be freaked out, because she was still alive. It wasn't like she was dead. They're like, let's teach her a lesson, and they put her in the witch elm. And then the thing goes, there was an insane asylum is where they got the story from a guy, one of the two guys that did that. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw a woman looking at him through a witch elm, like a dead woman was staring at him through a witch elm. Mm-hmm. And he just couldn't sleep or anything, and he ended up in the sanitarium. So, that's one. The other one was if it was like she was a spy and they just like ditched her body there, or if she was like which ties into like the German actress. And then the last one was the weird facial recognition that says, in 2018, speculation of the identity of Bella resurfaced when British anthropologist Caroline Wilkinson created a facial. I thought it was older, so this is a newer facial reconstruction of Bella's physical features. And Wilkinson had previously made headlines when she created facial recognition of King Richard III when his remains were uncovered. So could this photo that she made lead to, in 2018, they're hoping that this photo will find somebody's photo from the 30s or 40s that could prove who this is, really. But it is super creepy, and it reminded me a lot of, reading the story reminded me of the first season of True Detective, when they find the woman that's bound by the tree. And so imagine some kids finding in this creepy looking tree, there's a skeleton like in all the sticks and branches and stuff. And then of course all the local rumors and everything start spreading. So it's an interesting mystery that still hasn't been solved to this day.
That's an awesome mystery. Although, do you think when the boys found her, like there's probably was a bird's nest in there? Do you think they were like, don't mind if I do. Like grab the egg.
You know, one kid
I
reached,
can't believe there's
they
a
reached
woman
back.
in here. Eggy. Anyway,
Yes.
we should probably.
They wanted second breakfast. I like how poaching eggs is a thing in England.
Breakfast. Jeez,
There-
it was in the 40s, I guess.
They're poaching. Well, they're also probably hungry as shit with
Yeah,
war
they're probably
rations
getting
and everything
blitzed.
else.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
like intrigued.
What else are you gonna do? You're 12 years old.
Well, I also think like if Chris went up there and he was like, "I'm climbing that witch elm. I want to see what's up there," and he climbed all the way up and he was like, "It's a skull. Oh my god!" Yoink yoink yoink, and he takes 3 teeth, and then he's like, "I'm gonna go tell somebody about this."
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
what
gonna
He
take
totally
this.
poached those 3 teeth.
No, I would take the eggs and be like, "Hey guys, there's a lot of eggs up here. Why don't you come up here?"
Yeah, I didn't see anything unusual. No, but I think Chris would also be like, "Hey, what? Where'd that hand go?" And Chris
Yeah.
is like sliding a hand in his pocket.
Those are hard.
Don't worry about the mummified hand. I just slipped into my pocket for my.
Yeah, flashback 2-3 years ago. There's an episode about Chris actually taking a hand from a laboratory.
No, there was. You're right. I did have a decapitated hand at one point.
It was a severed hand and half
I don't
a
know.
jar of formaldehyde.
Yeah. I don't know. It was a body donated to science, so you never know.
And you also never know what teenagers do because you literally found a dead person's hand in a half-empty jar and nobody knows where it went because y'all are just like, "Oh, it's a hand."
It was on the mantle last I saw. We probably left it there because it's funny.
It's on the mantle behind the plaque that says "Hand of Glory" by Chris Carroll.
Yeah.
Right. Attempt number 3, Hand of Glory. Don't talk about it.
Yeah, but it's like been used up really a lot because he keeps trying it on the
The
same
first
day.
rule of Hand of Glory.
I
Club
still
is-
don't know what does that do for somebody. A hand of glory.
A hand of glory, it's a protective charm, like a very powerful one. Like you can't fuck with someone with a hand of glory. You're
But
like,
why would they leave it there though at the site? That's why I don't see it witchcraft.
yeah, because I mean, it's never the Satanist cult. If one of the theories is a Satanist cult that did it, that's the incorrect one.
Or
But
do you think aliens abducted her and then dropped her off like casually?
what if it's a
on the
combined
tree?
thing where it's like, the drunk guys were, and they like put her up there as a joke, but then something really fucking gnarly happened to her, like spooky, like a ghost killed her or something, like,
Bigfoot
or she was so scared when she woke up, she like,
freaked out.
Yeah.
I do think the guy that was in the sanitarium, but that guy, they didn't track him down. Like that wasn't current, right? Like, so he died in prison, and then they found his story 10 years
wow.
after he was dead.
but don't you think he was just like psychic and he was like, there's this ghost?
Yeah, or
dead
she was
person.
calling out like, "Help, help, help!" And he just
Yeah,
picked
he
it up
had
and
like
went crazy.
untrained clairvoyance.
Yeah, like
But he said he dropped a woman in an elm tree to teach her a lesson with
oh,
his
that was the
friend.
same person.
Yeah, same guy.
Oh yeah, he definitely killed her by
I
accident.
think he was the guy. She was
Yeah.
drugged and then
He
froze
knew
to
something
death.
happened.
And
Yeah,
then he
maybe
had a
that's how he
guilty.
went crazy. And
He went crazy with guilt.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I've been like thinking about Dawn a lot here recently.
Yep.
Mary today said, "Why haven't you talked to Dawn lately?"
Yeah, our resident
Okay.
clairvoyant. She's so cool, and I feel like
You're due up.
my warranty's expired on the last reading. I need a new one.
Yeah.
Not a rose reading, so I might at some point reach out to
It's
her.
nice to talk with her and not get a rose reading, like if you already had one, because it's just kind of like, it's just kind of more efficient and like more specific to what's going on in your life.
I've talked to her 3 times and only one rose reading.
Yeah, you only get one. You don't need another rose
Right.
reading. I feel like the rose reading's more for her. It's like kind of setting you up. Like, this is your story. And then later it's like, let's see what's going on with your chakras and what's going on in your life.
She's cool. You should check her out. Let us know. We'll connect you.
So I don't know. I like our histories mysteries. We might do this again if we also are.
Oh wait, what's that? What's that noise?
That's us going to a bar. You have to stay here. And
Hey, I got this
Organize your
tablet that I got a hold of.
all
I'm gonna take it to the top of this witch elm and see if I can astral project some instructions from what it's saying to do. But I'll see y'all later.
right. While he's gone, let's go to this medieval tavern and see if we can.
Yeah.
Drinks.
hello, what's all this then? It's two stinky travelers that have a sense of the veil still on you, as if you've just passed through it a little bit. I have liquid ranch beverages that are alcoholic, but I don't take coin. I take yucks, if you got any jokes for barter.
Why did the Athenian ghost get a job as a tour guide?
Because he needed coin.
Because they're an expert in spirited history.
That's not even
Thanks,
funny.
Jake. Thank.
It's not here.
Why did Plautus always bring a mirror to his plays?
I don't know.
Because he wanted to make sure his comedy was truly reflective of Roman humor.
I see how a computer might think that's funny if I knew what a computer was. So, yes.
Yes.
I gotta try another method to get our drink, right? You know what are those change things at the grocery store?
Coin stars. I love them. We have them in the media.
Yeah, coin stars.
Did you know that
Yeah.
before you get into that, if you see a coin in the reject pile, you grab that shit. Because if it's 90% silver, Coinstar rejects it. 1964 and before, quarters and dimes are
You know
silver.
why it rejects it? I know, because I was waiting in line to use a Coinstar once, and there was a technician using it, and he was real talkative and told me exactly how Coinstar works.
It'd be too heavy.
No, it's not weighed.
Ooh.
So
It's a spectral analysis.
it's electrical.
Yeah.
So they pass a current through it, and they know the exact amount of electricity that goes through each coin, and you can't fake it. And other currencies have different, like the electricity goes through all of them, but at different rates. Like
Interesting.
They'd be worth some money though.
So I'm gonna drop like 1,000 jokes. I'm gonna drop like 20 quick jokes into the Coinstar of or the bartender, and we'll just see what sticks and what doesn't. Maybe a little chuckle, a little internal. You won't laugh out loud. No LOLs, but maybe it's enough at the end we can get a receipt, which is enough for a ranch drink. All right, so I was more concerned about witch jokes with the witch elm tree, right, and the Bella and the tree. So here we go. Ready? Why do witches stay in 5-star hotels?
because they're something with the pentagram.
Because of the excellent broom service.
Oh god.
What do witches put on their bagels?
Bagel.
Scream cheese.
Scream cheese. Is that what you
Scream
just
cheese.
said?
Why did the witch give up fortune telling? She just didn't see any future. in it.
You're just replacing the woman.
How does the witch tell time? She looks at her witch watch.
What?
What do you call?
What?
What do you call two witches who live together?
Broommates. Yeah, you've already used that pun.
What happened? What happened to the witch?
What's
with
a
an
witch
upside-down
watch?
nose? What?
Is that like a swatch watch pun?
Yes.
Instead of
happened-
Sweden,
yes.
it's from Wichita.
Yes. What happened to the witch with an upside down nose? Every time she sneezed, she blew her hat off.
That's not even funny.
Fucking hilarious. All right, what's the problem with twin witches?
I don't know.
You never know which is which. What game do witches play on Halloween? Hide and ghost seek. What's a witch favorite ride at the fair? What's the witch's favorite ride at the fair? The scary go round. What do you find on a haunted beach?
A sandwich. I was about to say that one.
Yeah. Why do cats prefer wizards to witches? Because saucers sometimes have milk in them.
Okay, here's the deal. I'm going to give you each a drink to get the get out.
What do you call
No, I'm
witch
giving you a
with
drink to
chicken
stop
pie?
right now. So,
Why did the witch go to the doctor? Oh no, time limit up on Safari.
good. Safari, be smarter than you. There was a medium that got arrested because he kept showing everybody his crystal balls. Along the same
Bartender
line
always
there.
does the
Anyway, that was awful. Here's your drinks. Don't come back.